This is the rocket group of Zach Green and
Zhengguan Dai.
the goal of this project was to create a rocket that would fly at least 700 feet, carrying an egg, and be able to deliver that egg safely to the ground upon landing. During the design phase of our rocket creation, we spent a lot of time on OpenRocket testing different fin shapes. We tried to make the fins smaller to reduce the weight. We also made a wind hood to protect the camera and make it more aerodynamic. We cut the parachute to the maximum recommended size to slow the egg more on the way down. We assumed the slow descent would make up for the extra weight that the parachute added. For the construction phase of our rocket, we got all of our construction done fairly easily during class. We spent the most time making sure everything was symmetrical and aligned, using the rulers and the right-angled edges to make sure our rocket would fly as straight as possible.
According to the thrust curve, the rocket engine can produce a huge amount of power right after its ignition, but the power dropped to a stabilized value after roughly 1 second of ignition, and the power stopped between 7 and 6 seconds. And between the 10th and 11th second, the rocket engine produces a bump which can deploy the parachute for the return trip.
On the day of our flight, we launched later in the day after the wind had started to pick up more, which may have affected our flight adversely. Our rocket flew 565 feet in the air. The egg was barely cracked on landing. The camera we had to use was not the camera we planned on, so we had to cut more space in our rocket at the last minute on the day of the launch, and the wind hood we had originally made was not able to cover the camera fully, making our rocket less aerodynamic. The parachute we put in fully deployed upon the parachute charge exploding, but the rocket landed on the edge of the park where the ground was harder. The flight was a 25-second flight, and towards the apex of the flight, the rocket began to spiral a bit out of control. We believe that one of the fins came off at that point because it was not found where the rocket landed. We believe our rocket launch was fairly successful, but if we had to do it again, we would try and make the fins a bit bigger and the rocket a bit shorter to try and make the rocket more stable during its flight and hopefully reach the 700 feet. We'd have also added more padding around the egg because our egg barely cracked, and a little bit of padding might have kept it completely intact when it hit the ground.